haven't seen anything like that, at least since the collapse of the Saddam regime. It may be even more significant than that. Why? Because, first of all, we see the return of history as opposed to the end of history, courtesy of Frank Fukuyama. The Russian-Turkish competition is back in force, and this is a trend of the last 400 years. That also means that whether Iran is trying to get nuclear weapons or Turkey is getting into a competition with Russia, Turkey may make a move in the future to get nuclear weapons itself. Then there's a cascade. Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and of course, Israel never admits, but they have nuclear weapons as well. So that's point number one. Point number two, we have a failed state on the doorstep of Europe. Europe took already several millions of refugees from Syria. Turkey took over 2 million refugees. If Mohammed al-Jilani, the new ruler, the leader of the rebels, the former al-Qaeda guy, is not going to get his act together, there'll be more refugees spilling out of Turkey. The Alawites, the minority that Bashar al-Assad was the leader of, and then his father and grandfather before him. The Christians, the Druze, and whoever else are there, the secular people who are not happy with the Islamist regime that most probably al-Jilani is going to impose. He is very careful. He is much more sophisticated than his mentor al-Baghdadi in Iraq or the Taliban. But my fear is, and I hope I'm wrong, that in the future, as he consolidates power, he may impose a full-fledged Islamist Sharia regime in Syria.
Dr. Cohen, let me ask you about the timing here. And we've talked a little bit this morning just about how long this war was grinding on before we saw such movement here over these last couple of weeks. And you're describing the kind of power vacuum that's opened up here. And I'm very curious sort of what you're going to be watching for. You mentioned all the different parties, both on the international scale and within the country, that are going to be trying to sort of vie for power and see what happens here, how it shakes out. How limited is the timetable here to see sort of, what's going to emerge? What are you watching for? Just give us some counsel on what these next few days are going to be like. Again, we've kind of looked at past analogies. You brought up Iraq. Libya is another one. What have they told us about how long this might take to sort of figure out where things are happening directionally?
I would be looking at, first of all, how the Kurds are treating. Kurds are the largest minority in the world, or the largest people in the world without their own state. 30 to 40 million in Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran, still without their own state, despite the promise after World War I in the Versailles Conference by President Wilson to give them a state. Secondly, how women are treated. Are women going to be put in niqab, in full cover, or not? So far, the rebels said they're not going to impose a dress code on women, but I have my doubts going further. Third, how far Turkey's writ is going to go in Syria. Yes, Turkey has its own militia further in the north that is fighting the Kurds and ethnically cleansing the Kurds and trying, I saw unconfirmed reports that kidnapping Kurdish women. But the main rebel force is from Idlib all the way south to Damascus, and then all the way to the ceasefire line with Israel. Israel is taking preventive steps to secure Syria from weapons of mass destruction. They bombed the storage of chemical weapons, surface-to-surface ballistic missiles, and other heavy weaponry, so that this threat will not come up in the future. And Israel is fully coordinated with us, with the United States. President Biden said yesterday that any threats to the neighboring countries, be it Jordan, Israel, Lebanon, etc., from the radical militias and I deliberately don't want to
Yep.
call them jihadis out of goodwill, any threats will be confronted. And we're bombing today ISIS positions in Syria.